Test test.
I can hear you good. How are you guys?
Fantastic.
All right, I am going to press the big old button to get things underway. Give me just a second. Happy Friday, everyone.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Anyone, while we wait for players to filter in, does anyone have any fun plans this weekend?
I'm driving to Wisconsin tomorrow morning.
Ooh,
Ooh,
fun
are you
enough.
excited for the snow?
Yeah. I normally do this trip every year, but a pair of friends from Florida will be joining us for New Year's. They're driving up separately and slightly later, but really excited as one of them has never seen snow. So it'll be fun. We've got some various hikes and sledding and stuff planned for them, so they can fully experience snow for the first time.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Wisconsin has amazing sledding too.
Yes, absolutely. We have a very a fond sledding hill, one I grew up
Hmm.
nearby because I grew up in Wisconsin. So lots of nice places to take them.
Hey, folks in chat, please do me a favor. Do not spam things like requests to speak. The moderators will have to remove you if you do so. We will get started answering questions here soon. I think it's about 2:01. So we're going to go ahead and get things started. Please remember to, of course, follow the server rules. And the only folks who are going to be up on stage are going to be the folks from Congregate. However, you can put your questions in chat and we will read them out and do our best to answer them. All right, so let's go ahead and formally kick this off since it is 2:01. Hello, everybody. My name is Juniper. I'm the Senior Community Manager for the Bitverse, and I would like to give you all a very, very warm welcome to our end of year Bit Heroes Quest AMA. This week, I am excited to welcome Paul and Orky, our product managers for Bit Heroes Quest, along with our Vice President of Product, Jorge. Paul, Jorge, Orky, welcome.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hello.
Happy to be here.
All right, this session is going to be about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how many live questions we get. As I mentioned just a second ago, I do want to give a very friendly reminder that questions submitted today should be worded respectfully so that we can have a healthy, constructive conversation as a community. Since this is an AMA, please make sure that you react using emoji on questions that you would like to see answered, and we will do our best to get those answered first. However, before we get into the open question portion of the AMA, Jorge has some news and updates that he would like to share with all of you. Jorge, take it away.
Thank you, Juniper. And hello to everyone again. Before we go with the MA, just wanted to take 5 minutes to first thank you all for sticking with us through this year. It has been hard for several reasons. And mostly the crash rates that have prevented us from being able to work on new exciting features, right? As much as we would have liked to. However, I'm really excited to announce today that we've made significant progress towards fixing them, particularly with the latest build that was released this week. I believe 98 to 99% of the issue has been resolved. There's still some work to be done, but this should let us, free up some resources to focus on new features for the game. So that's excellent news, right? I also want to announce, as a small surprise on the side, that the team has been working very hard on a new feature over the last month, right? Trying to get it for December. Unfortunately, it's not going to get shipped this year, but early 2024 there'll be a new feature in the game. And we hope you enjoy it. It should help with some things. But yeah, just wanted to share that there's a couple of interesting things around the corner. And in terms of the things that we'll be working on next year, I don't want to say too much. I'll keep saying that we still need to, make the game super stable, right? And we have a backlog of 300 bugs to fix. Around half of them are major or critical. It includes world boss bugs, right? That are well aware by the community. But the idea is that we work in parallel between content, bugs, and features. So that's exciting. And the final announcement is that there will be some changes in the team, right? I'll be departing from the team and joining a completely new project, which is an announced at Congregate. Our technical lead will be kind of guiding the project moving forward. His name's Jeff. He's been part of Bit Heroes for a very long time. You just don't know about him. But he was part of the team that landed the Unity port a couple years ago. So super knowledgeable guy who will be taking over. Orky will stay around, and she still reports to me, so don't worry about it. Somehow I will always be related to to the game. And we're kind of leaving the high level roadmap for the game set for 2024. So, pretty much we know what the priorities are for next year. And to finalize this announcement, again, round of announcements, just want to thank you again for sticking with the game, believing in it, and we're super excited about 2024.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jorge. Appreciate all of the news. Just to reiterate, again, we are very, very excited for 2024. There will be some very cool stuff coming. I will leave details to the wonderful folks who are speaking here today. But outside of that, let's go ahead and get to the AMA portion of the event. So, what that means is if you have a question about Bit Heroes Quest, for Jorge, Orky, or Paul, please go ahead and drop your questions in chat. Make sure, again, they're worded uh, respectfully. And outside of that, though, for folks, if you see a question that you would like to see answered, please make sure to react to the question with an emoji. That's going to be how we keep track of which questions we answer first. All right, so looking at this, I'm going to give y'all a chance to put your questions in, but it does look like we do have two that are getting some upvotes right now. We'll start with the one that has the most, which is from Kerniak. Any word on the backlog of NFT benefits and features?
Yes. So as I just mentioned, we just kind of landed those improvements to stability of the game, which were kind of the core focus for the last 8 months, probably. So now the door has opened up to work on new things, right? And definitely delivering on some of the NFT perks is on the table. We want to do that. There's other features that we want to bring to the game sooner because we feel that more people will benefit from them. But definitely we want to keep that avenue of development open in 2024.
Alrighty. Our next question is going to be, I'm trying to go in order here. Albacore, how does the team decide which bugs are high priority outside of actual game-breaking stuff? More so stuff players would overall rather have fixed compared to a minor bug affecting an item or whatever.
Well, I think Cass and Orkey have been doing a lot of work on this, so they can answer this question very well.
Sure. Largely, it's impact. It's based on how many people it's affecting, and if it's either preventing you from playing the game and having fun, or if it's a minor inconvenience. So, impact and effect in the regard are heavily weighed amongst each other, and that's what we use to evaluate some of those things.
Orky, was there anything you wanted to add, or would you like me to move on to the next question?
No, I think Paul covered it perfectly.
Okay, cool. Then it looks like our next question is going to be from Ember. How are the money shop deals decided and evaluated? Orky, I think this is going to be for you and Jorge.
Yeah, so on a weekly basis, before I get into that, we don't have the best tech in the game that allows us to do a lot of testing. So a lot of the times we'll have to see how bundles perform on a global scale. And so what we do is on a week-to-week basis, we analyze the performance of these sales and either adjust accordingly or remove them.
All right, I'm going to let folks just kind of ask any follow-up questions there if they would like to. Paul, Jorge, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean it's there's a lot of pieces that kind of compose the shop deals, right? Of course, there's an evaluation of how much are items worth in the game, right? Based on their power, their drop rates, etc., etc., and that informs then more or less what's the value of a shop deal, right? It doesn't mean that a lot of times perceived value is not the same as actual value. We know that. So we try to navigate around that, and then we provide like certain value targets for those deals, right? Like, hey, we want to give 2 times the value, or 3 times, or 4 times, right? To make them interesting. So we combine that with past data on performance and also what we're running on a set week. So, for example, if there's a new event coming up next week, right? A new seasonal event or in a game mode that's going to show up, we of course tailor those deals around those things as well.
That was a better explanation than mine.
So it is a 30-second answer to a whole discipline within game development. So you know, we try our best.
All right. And then our next question is going to be from Sean. How are the biweekly resets affecting the ability of the devs, to address serious in-game issues?
Well, I think evidence is, as Jorge responded earlier, with that there's been um, big impacts and big updates to the crashes. So um, you can kind of see the payoff there.
Yes, they certainly been freeing up a lot of time for the devs. On
Mhm.
average, I'd say like they get an extra 1 to 2 days per week because of the biweekly cadence.
Huge.
Mhm.
Exactly. If you think about that over a year, we're talking about 100 extra days of, not 100, but closer. Yeah, actually, yes, close to 100 days of extra dev time that works goes into features, right? And a lot of the work that we're trying to do in probably in Q1 of 2024 and what we've been doing so far is we're trying to take a lot of the manual tasks that we have to do every single week right now that are super time consuming. We're trying to automate those things, right? So when it comes to for example to offers, right, like instead of spending a couple of days on preparing them and setting them up, etc., we're trying to come up with ways to kind of automate all that process, right? Similar with tech behind the scenes that you might not have seen, but all these things should in the long run give us the ability to work on what is actually really exciting for you guys, which is you know game modes, different meta changes, um, I don't know, all sorts of interesting stuff, right? Rather than, oh, what's the sale that's coming up this Thursday, which are exciting as well, but not as much.
All right, cool. So our next question is going to be from Albacore again. Are there any plans to bring back the $20 legendary pet and accessory?
Not in the near future.
But I would say, folks, if that is something, again, that is interesting to y'all, please make sure to use the suggestion features built into Discord so we can kind of get an idea of how many folks would be interested in something like that for the future. But I think, as Orky said, it's not currently on the schedule. But like with any of the sales, please use the feedback tools. We do read them. They don't just go into the void, I promise, and it helps us to get a better understanding of what y'all are kind of looking for. All right, so next questions. Oh, here's one that's kind of popping off from Dreamin'. Why are there fewer XXL and XL energy crates featured in the past few weeks or months?
So this does have to do with the bi-weekly server cadence. The idea is by reducing the amount of sales offered on a weekly basis, we'll free up more dev time so they can work on other important priorities like the crashes. But as Jorge mentioned, since we are seeing an improvement in stability, in the future we will be relooking at the sales plan and we may be adding more sales on a weekly basis.
Alrighty, does anyone want to add to that one while I'm scouting for questions? Or are we good? All right, we're going to move on to the next question. I'm going to take this one from Blanquito real quick. Is there information on when new moderators will be implemented for chats? We rather recently, as of like maybe 3 months ago, onboarded quite a few mods. Prior to that, I think in 2023, we've added a fairly sizable chunk of new folks to our moderator rosters. So we are not currently planning on adding more folks to this unless existing moderators choose to depart or the needs increase in sharply in the next couple months. So typically what we like to do is look at our mod rosters every 90 days or so to see if we believe that things are covered and folks are having a good experience. We don't ever want to have like too many mods or not or too few mods. So we're, we just finished with that round for Q4. We will look at potentially adding some towards the end of Q1, beginning of Q2, if we were to add more. There is a pinned post on the Discord. If you need to find it, the moderators can help you, but basically there's an application form. If you would like to be a moderator, please always feel free to submit an application. We check them periodically, and if interested, we'll be sure to reach out. Now, let me go ahead and quickly, with that one answered, let me go ahead and check on some of the other questions going on. I see one from Anto here. Is there an update on the NFT front of things related to perks that are meant to be implemented? This year, as time is running out, I start to worry as we have had very little news on the future of them and Bit Heroes. With BHA being, oh, sorry, the thing scrolled, with BHA being shut down and things changing, when can we expect more updates on this?
I think probably by the end of Q1, we would have a pretty good idea of where the game's trending after the crash rates fix and the delivery of some new features, right? Uh, like we think about the whole year in terms of like what we would like to do for the games. But what we actually set on stone is like the next quarter, the next 3 months, right? That's the part that it's less movable. And then we reevaluate every quarter, right? Like what are the metrics? What are what do players want? What's community saying? What are the trends in the market? And also how is the company doing financially and what can we afford to do, right? So when you combine all that, then you make the decisions about what you're going to be working on next. And for NFTs in particular, I can say that probably I don't think Q1 will do much with NFTs right now. It's more of a Q2 question. So by the end of Q1, we'll be able to share more. I want to reiterate that obviously we want to do everything, but we are resource constrained, right? The team is not that big. It's a beast. The game at the end, like if you think about the amount of content that goes into it, seasonal new zones, bug fixes, the new features, the NFT stuff. There's a lot of stuff. I can say though that we have a collaboration with a huge Web3 project in the works for NFT users. I can't disclose much more than that right now because the project is taking form. We saw a prototype this quarter, but yeah, I cannot share much more right now. Just bear in mind that we haven't forgotten about you, right? Things are still moving, just might not moving as fast as we wanted.
Alrighty, and then our next question is going to be from Sean. How has the Kong restructuring affected the dev time for BHQ? I know the biweekly cadence has helped and that devs seem to be focused on stability right now.
Great question. So as many of the company had to let go several amazing colleagues, right? And these things are never easy. But I can reassure everyone here that the game dev team has not been impacted and remains committed to continuing the Bitverse and Bit Heroes in particular, right? When this happened, we tried to make things so, again, the development teams were unaffected as much as possible. And for Bit Heroes, I think all the team is still around. except a couple of folks that um, had to leave. But the dev team is
Our next question is going to be from Barnetto. Any plans on having a new world boss soon, considering how we have had Nordic for so many tiers now?
So, oh, Paul, did you want to touch on this?
No, please go ahead.
So we do all know about the world boss bug issues. So the plan for now is to attack those first before we add future world bosses.
Yep, that's exactly what I was about to say.
Y'all quick with the answers today. Okay. From Fergus, with the death of Runner and Arena, are there plans to introduce similar content within BHQ?
Similar content how?
I think Fergus might be referring to like the type of game modes that Runner and Arena feature,
Hmm.
integrating them into BHQ instead of being standalone games would be my interpretation of that question.
Got it. So first of all, I would say that they're not fully dead. They're in maintenance mode until we unlock more resources, right? This is how the market works, right? Like sometimes you get the funding for new projects and you can develop them intensely. Sometimes you are more cash constrained and you need to be a lot smarter about the moves and decisions that you make, right? That being said, if we got the investment back, we would probably um, yeah, we'll probably keep working on those games. Particularly, I think Arena is the one that we most felt like had a lot of potential. Runner, it has enough content for a year, I think. That's as far as I know. Um, so we can always keep adding more, right? And they will still be separate games. Don't think we'll bring them to Big Heroes per se because to Big Heroes Quest per se because there's so much more we need to do on this game, right? And it's one of the main struggles that the team has at times. Like the backlog of items is just immense. Like all the things that we could do. So we don't want to complicate ourselves more in that regard. There's things that we know, the community would love to get first before things like that.
Alrighty, our next question is from Neflarian. Has there been any discussion on how to help with world boss lobbies being spread out so much? As we gain tiers, there are less and less available lobbies in each tier since the player base is stretched out.
Well, the the distribution of players throughout the zones and the tiers is basically U-shaped, right? With the end at the beginning being a little bit more thick, right? Which means that the people who are really suffering are those in the middle, right? And yeah, we've been thinking about ways to making access to world boss easier in that regard. Like how can we make the inviting people to join you simpler, right? How can we kind of get those lobbies filled faster and get you to play faster? So there's definitely things on the table. I think we talked about that in a previous MAA. Um, and the team has a spec for that, so it's just a matter of when can they actually implement that.
Alrighty, and then our next question, sorry, I had to scroll back a little bit. Is that going to be from Ember? Can we get a broad number or range of approximately how many devs work on BHQ?
Yeah, let me see. I think the number is probably around 15 people working on the game directly, if I'm not mistaken. I
And
believe.
I do think Ember is specifically inquiring about the folks who do our code. Ember, please correct me if I'm wrong.
If it's coders, I think it is 4 or 5.
Yeah, which I think is a number that we shared with the community.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mhm. Cool. All right. Next question is from Anto. Game balance has been much better as of late, from what I can tell. Are there plans to address TS/game inflation as it stands? TS is pretty much useless for the most part at the end game, and scale older things such as familiars, perhaps even sets, to make them more viable at later tiers. So the question here is, are there plans to address TS/game inflation currently?
Boy, I wish Adley was around because he's been driving most of the balancing. Um, there's definitely plans for that. There's also plans to try to make the new content more inclusive, so to speak, in the sense of, again, I was talking about the U shape of how players are distributed throughout the game, right? Which means that maybe 10% of players get to see what's at the end game, what we add at the end game. So we're thinking about, okay, what can we do to allow everyone or 80% of players to participate on the new content, right? Which would mean probably different things for this question. So it's in debate right now. I can't share much more because I don't have the information. Just say that it's being considered.
Awesome. It's good to know. We can't always share like super detailed info, but a little bit of info is better than no info. All right. Is there any metric you can divulge as to how many active players play BHQ? This one is from Sean as well.
I am not sure if we can legally share that to begin with. I would wonder if the company is publicly traded within MTG. Maybe there's some data there that you can go and check. I don't know.
The game is still actively played.
It is
It
actively played.
the
Yeah, if you're asking from a place of concern, the game is actively played. Yes.
Mhm. It does still definitely have an engaged user base. Are we World of Warcraft? No. Um,
No,
but
not by
there's
any
still
means.
but there's still a
Maybe one day.
definitely one day. We will one day.
Yeah.
But there is still a very active and engaged, healthy community for BHQ. I know that's probably not as detailed as maybe you would like, but some of that data, unfortunately, like Jorge said, is not always things we can necessarily share super broadly. But again, there's a lot of folks who play BHQ on a regular basis. So let's see what other questions we have going on. When can we have a duck mount? This one is from Ducky.
Nice.
All right,
So I
noted.
fully support this, by the way. We need a deck mount as
The
soon as possible.
introduction of a duck
Okay,
mount.
priority number one before crashes.
Yep. Just made it. So
E0.
given given Jorge's support, maybe soon, Ducky.
I fully support the deck community. So we're gonna get one. It would be a
Awesome.
nice departing gift for me now that I think about it. So wink wink to the team.
Oh,
That's a great way of framing it.
Yeah.
I love that. All right. For a long time, there were clearly just two game servers. This one's from Anvil, by the way. Mind telling us how many servers there are now? Just curious about my chances of landing on a particular player's server. Okay, so I'm gonna jump in real quick and say that our tech guys and our security guys would absolutely kill us if we divulged, I think, the exact number of servers that
yeah.
exist out there. As much as we want to share data, that's one of those ones that kind of touches, I think, on the security aspect of the game. Jorge, please feel free to jump in and cut me off if I am not
We
correct there.
can maybe say there's a similar number To that has been stated there, and there's backup servers as well, and that's all we
Hmm.
will share.
There you go. So your chances of landing in a room with your friends, if you are, I would say, it's higher if you're playing in the same like locale or like
Mhm.
if your languages match. It's a little harder if you're playing from with folks from other countries, but it's not, astronomically difficult to land in the same space as your friends. All right. And then let me see here. Our next question is from Sean. I've seen several level 1000 cosmetic questions and responses. Can we put to rest all the talks about them being paused or stopped? Yeah. We have not put out any formal communication in any capacity that we are stopping level our 1K cosmetics. When that happens, it will be a very public announcement for the community. Um, Jorge, I'm not sure if there's anything you want to add, but I can definitely say that this is currently this is a rumor. There's been no official statement made.
I believe we also completed one just this week, right? Or
Yes,
last week?
yes. Aya actually got hers just this week. Anything anyone wants to add? I kind of stole that
So
question.
I'm not sure we can add more to that right now. I think we still work on them right now. I might be
Mhm.
missing some context, but
There's
yeah,
so for some context, there's been some rumors going around in the community. I'm not entirely sure where they started. That we are not doing 1K cosmetics anymore, and uh, that's not something we've ever stated.
no, we've never stated anything like that.
Yeah, so we can all rest easy, keep grinding. Y'all will get there, and when you do, they're super cool. All right. Any update? This one is from Hip224. Any update on the guild bug with NFTs?
Something we're aware of. It's on our roadmap to work on next year.
Do we have any? Is it going to be early next year, mid next year?
I not. I don't want to put dates on anything. No, thank you. But it is something we are very much so aware of. Sorry, my dog's drinking in the background. Um,
Oh, you're good. Your mic's not picking it up. You're okay.
great. Okay. But yeah, no, it's something absolutely 100% on our radar.
Yeah, and I would like to say here, as I mentioned, there's going to be a new kind of person driving the Bitverse, right? Uh, that person might change things. So anything like, we might say a date here, but A, the team might not make the deadline, and B, the new person might change the priorities around. So it wouldn't be fair for him to do
Mhm.
that.
Alrighty. And then our next question is going to be from Drakey Zilla. Do you plan to return gem rewards in events? Saving gems for pets slash accessories or other things is too tedious for casual players.
Let me see.
Oh,
What's the
by
question
event,
again?
do they mean the rotational events?
They just specify events here, so I'm not totally sure. I think perhaps we can maybe interpret this question as other ways to earn gems, perhaps, unless Drakey wants to clarify for us real quick. But I don't see them necessarily typing right now. So maybe it's more of a question about introducing gems in other areas of the game for folks.
We do have a couple new features coming up, at least that we want to put forth during next year, and gems are present within them. Again, not wanting to say too much, but yeah.
All right. And then our next question from Sean is can we possibly get something like the end of year stretch of events list posted pre-Halloween for the next quarter. So for some context, this is where we shared that there was going to be our rotational events. What dates those would be, things like Halloween and Thanksgiving and winter holiday and stuff like that. That's what Sean is referencing with this question. So again, to reiterate, can we possibly get something um, like we recently posted of the events, like a list of upcoming events and content for the next quarter?
Yeah, I see no issue with that. Juniper and I could work on getting that list out before the holidays.
Absolutely. It's luckily those are easier to share. So things like our rotational content is much more. I think it's easier to talk about roadmap wise
Yeah.
than some of the bigger features are. Those are a little bit more. Those are a little bit harder to pin exactly down with a date. But yeah, I'll work with Orky and we will try to get y'all some insight into what's coming up. All right, next question is from Barnetto. Considering capturing raid familiars as one of the most grindy parts of the game, could we have boosted cap rate raid weeks a little bit more often?
We would need to look into the data. That's the answer. Why not? But we need to make sure it's not game breaking.
All right, and then we have one from Neflarian. Are there talks or plans even about more bundles being offered for gems rather than creds?
That's definitely something being considered and looked into, especially now that we may be able to free up more dev time, which may mean we could have more bundles.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think that's not the use that we want to have for the dev. uh, we want the devs to be working on features. So, Orky balances the sales almost every week, right? So she'll look into that for sure. But generally speaking, we there's I mean we always sell the same stuff, right, in the shop. There might be different combinations, variations, at different price points, but it's 99% of the time is it's cores, resource packs, and cosmetics, a couple of things more. So you really have to wonder if there's just space for more than that, right? And as I was saying, part of the plan is we want to get features that do this automatically, recurrently, without requiring a developer every single week to do it. So we'll probably standardize a lot of these things. We'll move that more in that direction than in the direction of more, right?
Awesome. All right. So next question is going to be from Jewel. Will which we kind of answered earlier, but we'll reiterate again since I know it's been a topic that a lot of folks have been wondering about, because there's a slight twist on the question towards the end. But the question is, will the restructuring Congregate went through recently affect development of the game? Are there plans on expanding the dev team for Bit Heroes Quest?
As mentioned, the dev team has remained unaffected by the restructuring. If the only change is, as mentioned at the beginning of the MAA, is that I'm going to be switching projects, and there's going to be a new responsible for the Bitverse. And to answer the final part of that, which is if we're going to grow the team, if the game grows, the team will grow, right? This is it's directly proportional. If the game stays more or less where it is, which is what's been happening, it's been a little bit on the decline this year. Then the team will remain the same size, right? So we need at the end of the day, you need the revenue to support the team, right? And the only times where we might do a little bit of magic is when we get some sort of investment, and that is very tied to macroeconomic conditions, which, if you're not following the economy, they're not the best right now.
All right. It looks like the next upvoted question here is going to be from, give me 1 second. Anto, can we please have more than 100 augment slots as well, please? I cannot craft any more, and I have 100 mythic augments. That is
That's an
a
interesting
lot
problem
of
to have.
Well, congratulations.
upvotes.
But yeah, no, that's something we can definitely look into, making sure there's no tech restrictions on something like that.
Yeah, let's take note of that one.
For sure.
All right, and then I'm looking at questions. Feel free to keep dropping them in, y'all. We have a little bit more time. I already know this one's probably going to get a lot of upvotes, so I'm going to ask it real quick. Ducky is the person asking this question. Can we please have more than 115 friend slots? It's hard for Ducky to limit the friends.
The answer to that one is it's hard because technically it creates a lot of stress on the client and the server, because the game renders all your friends and stuff like that, right? Loads and things like that. So it's not that one. Like, while augments, for example, might be, and I don't want to say simple because there's nothing simple in life, and nothing simple in software development. While augments might be easy to kind of switch, like the limit from 100 to 200, for example. Friends, they have a lot of implications because of all the tech that's behind. So that one, I'm gonna have to say no for the moment because there are other priorities.
All right, and then our next question is going to be from Anto. How do you plan to grow the game? More advertisement. Possibly sponsoring medium to large streamers to play the game would help bring in many new players.
This is a great question we've been asking ourselves as well. How do we plan to grow the game? So the business model, it's it's a complex question. How do players come to a game, right? They either come organically because they are searching, right, in the web or in an app store, and they come up with the game, right? That's path A. That has been on the decline for years because there's more and more apps, there's more and more games, so it's harder to get visibility. Another way of growing organically is word to mouth. So please tell your friends to come play the game. And then, kind of fostering the community is another way of growth organically, right? Now, the other side that we have more control over as developers is what is called paid user acquisition, right? And that's basically when you pay to place an ad on a network, and you get somebody to see your game, right? Because they're on Instagram, they're on social media, whatever, or on a website, and they see an ad. They click on it and they end up installing the game. That's how we have traditionally brought more players to the game. But that one is contingent also on, do you make the money back that you spent or not? And because of how things unfolded in 2023, that is not a positive thing for Beat Heroes, which is why, this is a super complex topic, so I'm sorry if I'm losing you. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is we're trying to create new features, right? And we're trying to deliver content in a manner that it's more quickly accessible for everyone and everyone can enjoy, right? Because the player journey is so vast for Beat Heroes. It takes so long to get to the latest tier. Um, So yeah, we're trying to grow in that way. We're trying to make things more easily accessible for people, not necessarily meaning that everybody's going to get tier 21 items tomorrow, but more like, okay, how do we create content that everybody can play, like the seasonal events, right? And yeah, hopefully that plus core improvements that we make to the game help us to bring more players through paid methods. We could pay influencers and stuff like that, but it's an area that is very nebulous and it's difficult for us to grow because there's also like the fees are high. It's the tracking of the users is hard. It's difficult to justify the investment. Sorry, it's a super complex topic.
It's a good question, though.
Yeah,
Thank you for asking. Yeah, it's definitely complex, but it's also a really cool question. So, thank you. We appreciate that one. Dreamin', will guild perks ever get an update, like more member slots, buyable, or even new perks?
I can say this: next year, a spotlight on guilds is being placed. That's all I'll say.
Which I think ties into Goose's question here. Goose is asking, will there be more guild cosmetics coming back more than just the thrones? But they do call out that please keep them coming if those are all that can be done for now. I think, Goose, that Paul's answer probably touches on yours a
Mhm.
little bit. I don't know if we have anything we want to specifically mention about cosmetics, but I do believe that someone please correct me if I'm wrong here. We are continuing with the thrones. Yes?
Yes,
Agree?
that's correct.
Mhm.
Okay.
Correct.
So yes, bare minimum, the thrones will keep on coming. And as Kaz said, there will also be, some focus on guilds in the future. Cool. So next question is gonna be from, hang on. Also, I want to make a super, super quick call out for folks in chat. If you would like your it's more helpful to put questions than make statements in chat. You're welcome to make statements, but they're not going to get read aloud. So if there's something that you would like to ask, please make sure to frame it as a question, and that way we can go ahead and address it. From Chuck, would shortening the tiers a month or two help with player retention based on player count, your current player count information?
Not really, no, because um, you lose a significant amount of players in the first 30 days of play, right? Uh, and as significant, I mean, I'm not going to disclose the number, but it's more than way
Okay.
north of 50%. Meaning,
Jorge, I think
even
you
if we
cut out
shorten up the
there.
tiers, they would not get to participate on anything beyond maybe tier 4, tier 5, right? Maybe tier 6. I know some speedrunners here might get a lot further than that, but that's not the average new player.
I'm not sure if that was just me, by the way, but a good portion of that question you kind of cut out.
Oh,
Um,
so sorry.
oh, you're
I
Do you
good.
hear
heard
me?
everything. I heard everything.
You heard everything? Okay, then it was
Same.
just me. Please ignore. Super sorry.
Okay.
All right, cool. And then it's looking like Anto, any plans to introduce new milestones? It has been a while since they've been introduced, and I thought they were a huge success, and more milestones would be awesome.
Noted.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'll add it to the list.
So that's like basic, yeah. That's really great feedback. Thank you for the suggestion, Anto. We also love milestones. Um, all right. So when I like this one, Miss Condor. When will we have another speedrun challenge?
Hmm. When are we gonna have another speedrun challenge? It's a good question. Hmm.
we definitely love to host another one, but we
Mhm.
can't give any dates.
Yeah.
Glad to hear you like them.
Yeah, the hardcore speedrun was a really interesting experience. It was a little bit more focused on like being driven by the community team. And we are unfortunately, and instead of being three CMs, it is just me now currently, which does make the ability to execute another hardcore speed run not necessarily something we can like guarantee possibly as quickly as we would have in the past. I think it's something that'll come back, but we just need to make sure that everyone has the bandwidth and the capabilities, manual calculations and verifying we have positions right, working with insights. There's a lot that goes into a speed run, so we definitely understand that they are beloved, but just need to balance all of the amazing new content and requests and CM availability to make sure that we can actually execute that to a high quality. Is there anything anyone else wants to add before we move on to the next question?
Oh, you covered it perfectly.
Cool. All right. So from Lilu, um, will there be Gen 2 NFTs?
There are already Gen 2 NFTs. Yeah, we've never put them to sale because we're waiting for first Gen to kind of run out. But I think that time's getting close.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it also makes sense to focus on the things that Jorge's talked about for our NFT folks as far as like perks and stuff go, um, before we're focusing maybe too much on future gens.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I think definitely the more imminent focus is the stuff that Jorge's mentioned throughout the AMA for NFT holders.
Yep.
Go ahead, Jorge. I'm so sorry.
No, no, I say I was just agreeing with you.
Awesome. I thought I cut you off.
No.
Okay, cool. Dreamin', can we get a mention if there's going to be a Sardonyx currency boost at the second week?
I could touch on this. So while the bi-weekly cadence is great for freeing up the dev time, unfortunately this does mean that we lose some of these boosting features because we require another server release if we're going to do a currency boost. So now that it's bi-weekly, we cannot have that weekly change.
Hopefully that makes sense, Dreamin', and definitely feel free to follow up if you have other questions about that topic that you want to ask. Sean is asking for a little bit of clarification around what we mean by run out of Gen 1 NFTs.
Oh, sure.
And yeah, because we've restocked them a few times on the store, so I think maybe just a little bit of clarity around kind of what we mean
Yeah,
by
sure, sure, sure. So I don't have the specific number right now, but we created a limited amount of Gen 1 heroes, right? So eventually we will run out of stock, so to speak, right? Like they will be in the hands of players and holders. So once that happens, Gen 2 will come. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, so when you see us restock, it's not necessarily a new gen. It's just more of what we
It's
have
more
on
of,
hand.
yeah, it's more of Gen 1. If it was a Gen 2, it would be late, like, in the attributes, it would be labeled Gen 2, and we haven't, like, we would probably do a website update, and obviously we'll communicate things in advance so everybody's is aware of that. Yeah,
And
correct. We have stock
yes,
behind the shelves. That's correct.
exactly, Sean. That's such a perfect way of putting it. We have some behind the shelves. We have some in the back.
Hmm.
Is the best way to think of that. From Fergus, though, is our next question. Can you give any info on the ability to gain the Ulxa familiar from Raid 1? It has been broken for a very long time, and we would love to know if there's been a new fix or a new way to get it.
So we've definitely discussed this before, and we had some fun ideas, but we can't promise anything because we have these other priorities that we have to work on before we can get to Ulxa, unfortunately. But it's definitely been considered and talked about.
Yes, it is in the. I think it's in the list of bugs, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So it's there. We'll, as we mentioned before, the team's gonna start going over that list right after the holidays, and just a matter of when they get to it. So it will be worked on, but we just don't know exactly like what's the velocity of the team right now, in order to fix those things. So we cannot really tell you, oh, it's gonna be on February or March, right? But it's there.
Awesome. And then the next question I'm seeing is from Archangels. What is the minimum we will see going forward with reduced staff? NFTs will stay, parentheses, will it have to move from immutable? Will we get new tiers every 6 months? Will we still have the staff to run Sardnex events?
So great news again. The dev team has remained unaffected, with the exception of myself, who's going to another project. So the run rate is going to be the same for new zones, for seasonal content. When we say seasonal content, we refer to Sardinix for the most part. So all those things will keep going. Will keep going. And as for NFTs, as mentioned, we already have Gen 2 ready. It's just again we're waiting for Gen 1 to finish. So we're good.
Yeah, it also I see a lot of folks referencing that our team has downsized, and I think that might be because of the loss of folks like Robin and Coffee.
Yeah.
But again, to reiterate what Jorge is saying, the developers, the folks who code and design the game and all that stuff, are still with us. So, it shouldn't affect things like Sardnex and stuff like that. But CM driven initiatives like maybe the hardcore speed run would be impacted in the way that I was kind of explaining earlier. Move to the next question. No? All right, cool. So we're going to have maybe two more questions, then we're going to have to wrap it up. So it's looking like our next highest voted question is going to be from Unseen Access. So will Sardnex become a little easier to buy out? Right now, the amount is insane for normal players.
Yeah, so this feedback has been noted and taken into account. Um, Us and the game design team are working on ways to reduce this number or revisit a number at least.
That being said, we still want to provide a challenge, right? Like these are additional rewards to the normal flow of rewards, right? So we want to make it worth a little bit to get them.
Yes, exactly.
And I think a good call out is also that, of course, when we get feedback in events like this, implementation is going to look like 2024 as opposed to the next event coming up. We have our events ready in advance, so I just don't want folks thinking that like feedback shared in today's AMA is going to be implemented in the next couple weeks. It's more stuff that we will try to consider going forward. I just want to call that out real quick. All right. Last chance for questions, y'all. We're gonna do one more and then we're gonna wrap it up. Everyone's been absolutely amazing. It's been a really, really great conversation so far. All right. Okay. So I've seen a few folks mentioning this. Let's go ahead and address it since a few folks have talked about this, but yeah, we'll just jump into it. From Miss Condor. Miss Condor is asking if it's possible for us to with so many NFTs to basically help them out a little bit since the T2 gem removal. I think as far as, buying out shops and stuff like that, or perhaps, speaking to
Hmm.
perks and things, I've seen a few folks mentioning in chat just like perceived value around NFTs and if we're planning on doing anything to make it easier for them.
All right, it's a good question. I think there's been some discussion in terms of rebalancing leader like event rewards across the board, game mode rewards, right? And how can we potentially bring back gems without breaking the economy? Um, so again, making you work a little bit to earn those gems besides playing a few games. So we are thinking about it for sure. I think there's still a lot of things you can do with the NFT, right? There's still a lot of rewards that you can tap into. I have a rare that I bought on my own, and that one, has been paying off for my permagore for the whole year. So I think I'm almost at a break even point. And I bought this one. Again, we didn't get a free one. Um, so there's still value in them, and again, as we kind of unlock the future of the game and we keep adding more things, there's definitely going to be options.
Awesome. Anyone want to add any final notes before we go ahead and wrap things up? Any final thoughts? No? Alrighty. So this is
Just
go ahead, Jorge.
Yeah, before we close, because again, I'm departing. I just want to thank everyone who's been around since 2019, which is as long as I've been working on the game. We've gone through a lot, right? The game almost burned in 2020 to the ground. We saved it, then we delivered, I think, one of the best updates to the game back then in terms of quality of life. We've delivered plenty of new tiers, exciting things, fun moments. Speedruns were also kind of idea that originated with me. So it's been a blast. The game's awesome. The IP is incredible. I'm gonna miss the game and you guys. So yeah, have a lot of fun with it. I'll join you as a player from now onwards.
We'll miss you too.
And we will miss you. Thank you for everything,
Yeah.
Jorge. It's a little bit bittersweet that this is Jorge's kind of last AMA with us. But it has been an amazing ride, and we're really glad to have been able to be on the journey with you. And thank you for since it's end of year, I'm going to go ahead and give y'all a mushy end of year message, which is just thank you. Um, you guys are amazing. You are what makes this game special. It's a joy to work with y'all and to be part of such an amazing community. I have been just endlessly surprised by the how deeply connected everyone in this space is, and um, I just as your CM just want to thank you for being here, for supporting us, for sticking through by our sides with by our side, and just it's been 2023 has been a lot of ups, a lot of downs. It's been a bit of a roller coaster experience, but I don't think we would choose to have any changes to the community we would do it with. Um, Happy holidays. Please be safe, have fun. We hope you're able to recharge and spend time with your friends or family or both. Um, and just generally speaking, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for being here today and for being part of our community. Orky, Paul, anything that you want to say?
Yeah, honestly, thank you so much. We don't deserve such a great community, or well, I don't want to say like that, but honestly, like thank you so much for all your support and sticking with us through all the hardships. Like Juniper mentioned, we had some ups and downs this year, but we're very lucky to still have a community with us.
Absolutely. Not much more to say that hasn't already been said, aside for to reiterate, as far as the holidays go, be smart, be safe, and have fun.
Don't do anything we wouldn't do.
Mhm.
All right, so right here, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you to all of our guests for joining us today. Jorge, Paul, Orky, thank you for taking time out of your very busy days to sit down with us. And a very sincere thank you goes out again to everyone who's taken the time to be with us today. We hope you have a wonderful evening and an amazing weekend, and we will see y'all again very soon. Bye, everyone.
Take care. Happy
So much,
holidays.
everyone. Happy
Happy
Have a good
holidays
weekend.
holidays.
and have a great weekend. Bye.